At Maple Grove Elementary, I want to expand in a little bit more detail on something that I promised you to hear more about at our in-service about a week and a half ago. The peer review process that is part of the WAKI system and has been handed down as part of the Iowa Code from the Department of Education. Looking at this just a little bit further, it's important to keep in mind that improvement in education is really a team opportunity. Michael Fullen says it best here with his quote stated before you. Before we begin before I move any further, I do have to apologize for my voice. I've got a sore throat, and that's creating a lovely voice that I have before you. So I apologize for that. But anyway, I want to connect back to the theory of action, the fact that we engage in job-embedded, collaborative, and results-focused PD is the piece that we're focusing on through this peer review. And through that process, that's going to help us and improve our chances of meeting our mission across our district, which is to optimize individual learning and potential for success in a global community. We're taking just a little bit of a history walk here. In 2007, the Iowa Department of Education released the Iowa Professional Development Model. The goal with that process was to improve student achievement gains at all levels, like any initiative. The code, specifically the Iowa Code, calls for educators to work collectively at improving the teaching and leadership practices, but it also includes that piece for collaboration and peer review. Practitioner collaboration and peer review are intended to enhance the education profession by boosting your practices and your tool set to be able to focus on instruction. Within our local level, then, within our collective bargaining agreement through the WEA, peer review is mentioned, and it's a collegial process among teachers to enhance and improve instruction in order to improve student achievement, very similar to what the Iowa Code states as well. A peer review may be one or more colleagues selected by a teacher to come in and observe them. Peer review will be based on professional dialogue that may include a classroom observation. So that may in there is inclusive that it doesn't necessarily have to be a classroom observation. There are other ways to do that, and I'll explain that in just a couple more slides. The decision regarding classroom observation is made by you, the teacher. You can decide who you want to come in and observe you. You may want to take that safe step, that first opportunity, and have one of your colleagues within your grade level come in and observe you. But I would love to encourage you that you should take that opportunity to step outside of your comfort zone and take a chance with somebody that's really going to provide you some real honest feedback. We are not necessarily good at that in education. We like to give that positive and constructive piece more so than maybe some constructive criticism. So I encourage all of you to step outside of your comfort zone and improve. I'm going to take that step as a principal as well. We'll work on this peer review process as we as principals share in this effort as well to visit each other's school and observe and provide feedback to one another. Again, this needs to be aligned with your Iowa Professional Development Model plan or your Iowa Teacher Professional Development Plan, which would include your team's SMART goal. So the fact that we write our ITPDPs as a team collaboratively would just mean that you need to focus your peer review around that of our goal as a building, which is reading, the academic goal specifically, and then your team goal feeds off of that. Well, your ITPDP peer review piece also needs to include that reading component. So you'd want to get in and observe somebody in the classroom or invite somebody into a reading lesson that includes both the whole group and the smaller group and possibly even some individual instruction as well. These should be very informal. I'll talk to you about the fact that they do not in any way affect your employment status. It won't affect you being part of an intensive assistance program. It won't promote you being promoted or laid off or determine your compensation in any way. So we just want you to know this is not evaluative. It's part of our continuous improvement process, and it's part of our professional growth. The only piece necessarily that will be included in the evaluative piece is that of the date for the peer review, the name of the individuals involved in the review process, and the reflection, which will be all included on your SMART goal form, which I've already changed. You'd be able to look at that at any point and see that each individual teacher within that team can place their name and the components that I just spoke of. So to recap, this is an opportunity for professional growth. It complements our current practices within the district, specifically the PLC, the instructional coach support that we have. It's an opportunity to improve our dialogue across our system and for you to invite somebody into your classroom that will help you exceed yourself as your current level of practice as a professional. It's an opportunity for somebody to provide descriptive feedback. It's also an opportunity for you to make sure that your assessment is aligned in terms of that intended, enacted, and assessed curriculum. That may be something that you want that person coming in and observing. And again, this is all connected back to our ITPDP or our SMART goals across our building. The Department of Education says that if practitioners collaborate in a constructive and meaningful way by focusing on improvement, teaching, and student learning, meeting regularly with thoughtfully planned agendas, minutes, and concise follow-up actions, and if we're planning lessons and practicing lessons and debriefing lessons, so on and so forth, you can obviously see that this is not new. This is our PLC process that's in place, followed by then also including school leaders that monitor, support, and participate in a collaborative process to ensure that efforts are focused on student learning and on district building goals, which is also part of our culture. Then teaching and student learning will improve. So the point with that and those couple slides is that this is not all new. We have a very safe and collaborative culture. Our proof is in our PLC process, our beginning teacher and new to WAKI program, our instructional coaching support, our professional growth process. This is definitely not second order change. It's something that we're going to be able to implement pretty well. As we look at connecting our goals, I mentioned this again before, but we want to take and make sure that we're connecting to our long range, our district annual improvement goals, our building annual improvement goals, our team goals, and then our ITPDP and peer review. Just to remind you, the annual improvement goals are listed ahead. Specifically, reading is to increase the percentage of 11th grade students scoring proficient on the Iowa assessments, and then followed by our academic building goal in which every child will meet end of year reading expectations or show larger than expected growth towards those expectations. The ITPDP form, as mentioned previously, just has an additional section that I've already added on your SMART goal format, which is located within our Google Docs. And that includes the dates, the individual or the team selected for review, and then a reflection. You can also incorporate any artifacts that you'd like to provide to your specific evaluator as well. It's important to remember that this journey of peer review is starting small. We did that on purpose so that we can start small throughout this process. We've got plenty of other things happening within Maple Grove Elementary at this point in time. So we're going to start small. We're going to leave a lot of autonomy within your grade levels and within your classroom to decide what this needs to look like this year. There are possibilities that you could explore, including inviting a colleague in your classroom during the year. You could consider a colleague with expertise in an area identified for continued growth or a desired area for feedback. You could engage in a feedback or review conversation and share artifacts with colleagues in your PLC. But regardless of what you choose, you just want to make sure that you're recording the date, the peers, and the reflection on your team's SMART goal. If you need help identifying that location, certainly let me know at your upcoming PLC. So I want you to take time between now and August 27th, our next professional development, to just think about these two questions. What might this look for you? I'm going to give you time to collaborate around that question on August 27th. And then finally, what questions do you have? This is a flip meeting. I didn't want to stand in front of you for this time because we've only got 2 hours on that particular day. We've got several other things regarding the leader and me that I need to touch base on, or our Lighthouse team needs to touch base on. And so I'm also going to give you an opportunity to ask any questions at that time as well. Next steps, we're going to go slow to go fast, Sidney McDonald's famous words, and we are going to take the next step into our Lighthouse team as we begin to explore what this process will look like for us in the future, particularly next year as we move forward, and what specific processes we might want to have in place based on the feedback that we receive from you as teachers. Again, thank you so much for your time. Have a great weekend, and make sure you get this. Make sure that you watch this prior to our professional development on August 27th. Now that you're at the end, I say that. Thanks again.